Welcome to a very wet Glanigorse Park for round 2 of the Eggers Hyundai Super 1 MSA British Karting Championships. Conditions are set to be changeable today, really wet at the moment. That could make for some very interesting racing, not least in our first race of the day, which is for the senior British Championship class for KZ1. That's a gearbox class. We saw Henry Easthope, the under-18 world champion, take a comfortable win at round 1, and earlier I caught up with him to ask all about his career to date and where he hopes to go this season. Henry, just talk me through your early career. When did you start karting?
I started at the age of about 11, doing the Mini-Max class. First year of racing, I went straight into Super 1 and Stars at the time. And chucking myself in the deep end, but I learned probably the most I've ever learned in racing that year. Racing against all the top boys in the class, you learn a lot of racecraft very quickly. Straight after that, I went to KF3. I struggled in my first year because obviously it was my second year in karting. It was a bit bigger, a lot of grippy tyres, so I struggled physically. And then second year I was quite fast, and then but I just ended up being too overweight. I was quite tall at my age, so then I went into Senior Max and I did a year in Senior Max, and I did the first year of the under-18s. And we did all right at the end of the year because I was overweight, but luckily I managed to shed the weight off and we were quite competitive. So in 2011 we thought we'd give it a go again. Had a great year, finished 5th. And then we thought, well, last year, before I'm 18, give it one more go. And luckily, last year it all paid off and we managed to get the championship, so it went well.
Yeah, you're talking about the Under-18 World Championship, and you got, when you finished 5th in that Under-18 World Championship year before, you got the drive with Sodi Kart in Europe, didn't you, as a works driver? And that's, so clearly you're one of those drivers that you've really come to the fore as a senior. As you've got older, as you were saying, you had weight issues. You certainly not got weight issues now. You're certainly very slim. What do you make of the gearbox class? You haven't done a lot of testing and you dominated at Rowra, didn't you? You must have been delighted with that.
Rowra was completely unexpected. We were hoping to be near the front by the end, but to win with the margin that we did was just great. And then we've done a couple of races since. We did the Super 4 at Rislington, finished 2nd, and then the O-Plate last week at Shennington, we won. So it's been great. I love the class. It's much better than anything I've ever raced. You get such a big buzz. When you get the corner right gear, everything just goes well. And even in the wet, they're so much fun to drive. You always come in with a smile on your face, even if you don't do well. So, you know, it's a great class. I love it.
But you'll be hoping to do well this weekend, of course. How's it been going so far for you?
Yeah, I was really fast in testing. Qualifying went well, and then in the first heat I got into 2nd, and there was something on the track, so I went off. And then in the 2nd heat it was raining, but everyone was on slicks and I didn't quite have the optimum setup, but I still finished 5th, starting 8th in the first pre-final, so I can just try and aim to go forward and just get as much points back on Dan as I can, really.
Okay, well, good luck.
Thank you.
So wet conditions here greet the KZ1 field for the first race of the day. Lucas Orrick and Dan Borton on the front row. Sean Slavin and Henry Easthope on row 2. Joe Charlton and Jamie Rush. And then we have Matt Dittman, the one plate, alongside Ash Davies in 8th position on the grid. Keep an eye out for James Mudd, 11th on the grid. That could be interesting to see how quickly he makes his way up through the field. And as you can see, wet conditions as they fly to turn 1. It's a bit slippy, but out in front, Daniel Borton trying his best to gain ground. And we've got contact at the back. And that is the number 7 that's collided with the number 2. So Joe Charlton and James Mudd. Here it is again on the replay. We watch towards the back. It just got a little bit too close for comfort. In the middle of the pack spins the number 7 of Joe Charlton, and James Mudd has nowhere to go. What a disaster. I said he'd be making his way through the pack. I didn't think it would be backwards. So he rejoins the field at the back of the field, and this is a total contrast to what we saw last week in the Rotax event. It's absolute mayhem out there. Just about comfortable for Lucas Orrick at the front, but for everybody else, it's going to be an absolute nightmare.
Including the cameraman, and that cameraman we've just passed in particular. The last time we were here, one of the cameras absolutely stopped working when we had these sorts of conditions. It is very wet indeed, but Lucas Orrick loves these conditions. He's out front with Borton in 2nd, Dittman, the champion from last season, not the Super 1 champion, but the champion in this class last season. He's in 3rd place, and he's being pursued by the 55 kart there, who's under pressure himself. That's Sean Slavin.
Yeah, Slavin and Easthope having a nice battle. Look at the rain sheeting down, and these two are already holding up the 25 of Earl Lloyd, who's trying to make his way up through the field. Just about defending valiantly there, Easthope. Back of the kart, flailing around. Tricky on the bumps in these wet conditions. You've just got to keep your rhythm, and it's not easy when every lap the circuit conditions are different. This is the problem you've got in wet weather. Oh, and that's the 32 abandoned. That's Charlie Robertson, so he's lost a wheel. That's a really bizarre accident there. We didn't see what happened, but that's unusual.
Well, it looks like he lost the hub as well. No hub on there. The wheel's off, the hub's off, and meanwhile out front, so he battled for second place. It's getting spicy between the three-car of Borton and Matt Dittman. As he comes through the spoon, left-handed now down the hill. There's around about 20 plus feet elevation from the bottom of the circuit to the top of the circuit here at Glannygorse. It's one of those circuits in karting that undulates more than perhaps any other, certainly any other than I've seen in the UK. You see the amount of water sheeting into this camera. Hopefully the camera will last till the end of the meeting, unlike the camera last season that just gave up the ghost in the end when it was getting that much water in towards it. But through the final turn for another time, up the inside, bit of contact there between Dittman and Borton. Dittman's got the run up the straight, up to turn 2. Has he held on? He has. A little bit of contact between them, but no real damage done. Lucas Orrock will be loving this even more because he's not even in the picture there, Jake. He's miles clear.
Yes, indeed. Not too bad from Dittman. It was a little bit heavy-handed, but I'd say a fair enough manoeuvre. It's very tricky to place your line in these conditions, and you could see throughout the course of that lap, and you probably will through this as well, when you hit the curbs in these conditions, the kart just flails around like a bucking bronco. You've got to wrestle with the steering wheel to keep it under control, but you need to be able to use as much of the track as possible to gain the advantage over your opponent, and that's exactly what happened to Borton. He was trying his best to use as much of the track as possible, and it caught him out through this corner, Paddock Bend, and that's what allowed Dittman to set up the move. Looking back to 4th position now is the 25, so Hal Lloyd has got Ash Davies behind him. 2 local boys desperately trying to move up.
Nobody more local, of course, than 66 car of Ash Davis. This is not only his home track, it's actually his home. It's his back garden. The house is down behind the clubhouse. He asked for a race game early on when he was a kid, as we see 22 go off. That's Ryan Sharp. Actually asked his dad for a racing game when he was younger. His dad built him a whole kart circuit in his back garden just to play with. There he is, the 66 kart, Ash Davis. Hal Lloyd there. Hal was the BARC Formula Renault champion a few years ago. You see the lead that Lucas Orrock's got. That's the 88 kart going through the line. He's followed by Dittman, but well behind, and then Borton, and then come the rest, Lloyd and Davis, battling for 4th and 5th respectively.
Orrock and Borton, the difference is night and day. This is absolutely amazing driving from Lucas Orrock. It's not easy to build an advantage in these conditions, even if you love the wet as much as Lucas Orrock does. But he's driving an absolute masterclass out there. The rest of the field can certainly take a lot of lessons from his performance here today. Watching again the 25 and 66. Hal Lloyd and Ash Davies a little deeper into the race, and you can see that it's actually now Ash Davies who's got the advantage now over Hal Lloyd to move up into 4th position. He's got a generous dad. I wish mine had done something like that when I was a kid. Build me my own racetrack. It's certainly too late for me, but these boys definitely showing everybody the way around this circuit. A very tricky technical circuit, Glannygorse Park, and not for the faint-hearted.
No, difficult to overtake on. Lucas Orrock, though, as we mentioned in the last programme, he's the man trying to make history here. He's won the last 3 Super 1 championships in the Rotax 177 class. Now that class is not running this season. He's had to switch to KZ1. He was going to do that anyway, so he's certainly taken the hard line. This is not an easy class to enter and start winning in straight away, but he's got the conditions that he loves today. Whether he would have won if it was dry, who knows? He may well have done, because it's a track that he goes particularly well at. We're into the last lap then, Jake, through the spoon, down the hill for the last time for the leader. Looks like Lucas Orrock is going to take a comfortable win.
Not just a win, but he's swept the entire track with everybody. A fantastic performance behind him. Ash Davies on the Energy chassis with a 48.79 second lap time. Very good job from him. But it's domination from this man, Lucas Orrock, in much the same fashion that we saw last time out from Henry Easthope at Rowra. But he's not finished out on lap 5, and that gives a commanding victory to this boy, Lucas Orrock. Domination in its finest and purest form, And back to second place. Hang on, that's Borton. Borton has beaten Dittman to the line. Well, we didn't see where it happened, but they've switched positions, so Borton is second ahead of Matt Dittman.
Tough race that in these conditions. Third place, happy?
Really happy, really happy. We've had struggled all weekend with setup. Couldn't get there all weekend really, and struggled in the final one. We had to start from the back because we were a bit late to the grid. And it's been against us all weekend really, but we did really well to get back to third. I was really chuffed with it.
Dan, tough conditions, second place, happy with that?
Yeah, I seem to be making a bit of a habit of it now. That's 4 finals, 4 second places. It was really difficult. Rain came on just as we were on the grid, and although the guys around us all had kind of full wet tyres, we only had worn down tyres, so to keep in the second position was really happy.
The whole 4 championships thing, it's not something I really thought about until you mentioned it on TV last time, but yeah, I mean obviously that would be really special, but with 3 rounds of championship, you know, it's a small championship. You have to just get solid results every round, and that's what I've been trying to do. But to get 2 wins is fantastic, and takes it down to the last round. It'll be good and exciting there. And you know, I think out of the people that are sort of at the front, we've all won championships before. So you know, everyone's experienced up there, and I'm sure it'll be a really great and thrilling last round.
Well, we've had dominant weekends from Henry Easthope at Rowrah and Lucas Orrick here at Glenagorse Park, but it's Mr. Consistency, Dan Borton at the top of the table. Joe Charlton, the rookie, is there in 4th place, just a few points behind Easthope, with Matt Dittman only 5th at the present moment in the championship, and Sean Slavin fighting fit in 6th position. Well, they're lining up on the grid for the KF Junior race, and if you join us after the break, you'll get all the action. Don't go away.